Max isn't sure.
Are you voting, Max?
He's abstaining
Who's
for the moment.
abstaining?
For the moment.
No, he's reading.
Oh, reading.
I'll take it as a yes. No picture, but it seems like it's recording, so
Either will or it won't.
it's counting, but I can't see any of you. Can't see any of the feed.
Probably better not to see us.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, anyway, hopefully it's recording. If it's not, it's not.
Ask Sarah.
Right.
Can I have the pen, please?
Yes.
Thank you. What's next? Reports. To receive reports that we get every single month. Sarah says no. It stopped at less than a minute.
What does?
My wife, she says because she watches because she's.
Oh, okay. I've just put it back on. I wonder whether she can see it again. I wonder if she can hear anything.
No.
Is it working?
Rebecca, where are you?
Right.
Start again. Yeah. She says.
Can she see it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's weird. Why is it
Good.
not showing that? Okay, that's all right. Thank goodness your wife's watching it.
Well,
Someone's got to.
someone's got to. Okay. Is that away or?
That's why I'm watching myself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 5 seconds delayed, but it's working.
Right. Reports, so receive them. Letter is the first real item. Discuss the approved meeting schedule changes for future estates meetings, now to be held on the first Tuesday of each month rather than the fourth, and decide if the open meeting should be cancelled. So there would be, is that right, 2 weeks between?
Yeah, so we'd have 23rd of April, and then it would be the 7th of May, so there'd only be 2 weeks, so in terms of writing up the minutes and doing any actions, there's possibly not going to be an awful lot to say, so, but then it's quite a long time to leave it, if we have this as the last one. So I don't know what you want to do.
Is it worth leaving it in at the moment? And then we can make a decision maybe that week or the week before, just see if there's anything that's
Necessary, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that sounds like a plan, because it could be that we've got masses needs doing, and
Yeah.
it'd be beneficial to have the two, but
Yeah.
probably not, but okay. So if we leave as is and then see,
You're ready to cancel.
yeah.
Discuss increasing costs for room hire at Fletton House. Yeah. What's the current, what's the current?
I think I sent it out to you, didn't I, in the information, I bet I've not got one.
There's a room rates.
Yeah,
So for this room.
Yeah.
For a social, it's £14 an hour.
Okay.
If it's commercial, corporate, I can hire it for half a day for £90, for a full day for 180. So there's 2 different rates. Do we ever get any corporate?
no, we've never applied that. It used to be Malcolm and Roy that got us to set those, or to do something with those. But I kept saying to them, for me, corporate would be someone like Pearl Assurance or Barclays coming to use one of our rooms. Where do you draw the line at what commercial is? Because most of the people that we get use these rooms are either one-man band people, or they've just got a few members of staff. I mean, I think the biggest party of people that we ever have here is probably Northants or KPM Packaging that have started using us, and they're not huge, and I don't think they'd use us if we tried to whack those corporate prices on them, so.
Because there was an ambition, wasn't there, to
Yeah.
make it like a destination with food and parking.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure we've ever made it that way.
No,
I suspect also if we put the prices up, people will use it less,
yeah.
and therefore,
Well, I've put it on there because we've not discussed it for a while. I know, I think the last time we discussed it, we were trying to give discounts to encourage more people to come. And obviously, after COVID, we were trying to
I was
encourage
going to
people to
say,
get back on the
COVID's
thing.
changed.
It's the same, you'll notice with the cemetery, I've put that on here as well, because we haven't put the prices up for that since, I think, 2018. And then, of course, COVID and everyone was concerned. So I've just put it back on there as a matter of course to see whether you do want to consider increasing them or just keeping them the same. In terms of, like, when we talked about it before, in terms of the cemetery, somebody asked, well, have our costs gone up? Well, obviously, grass cutting, we've had to take out a contractor to do that, but they don't increase hugely each year. So yeah, and like the grave diggers and things like that, they haven't put their prices up hugely. So yeah, it's just whether you want to consider doing it or leave as is.
What about QVH? Are we talking about Fletton House or QVH as well?
I left QVH out of it. Well, no, I've got QVH on there.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, the next point I put on the QVH was discuss the long-term plans, because you asked for a standing order for both the QVH and the courthouse. Discuss the longer-term plans for it. But then I realised, obviously, that you formed this working party. So a lot of it is all kind of a bit up in the air for us to discuss, because it's being dealt with in more
And
depth
that's partly
elsewhere.
why I asked, because
Yeah.
I don't know whether it should maybe go over to this working party.
Yeah.
You're on that, aren't you?
I think so. But at the moment, the agenda is just room hire at Flatton House, isn't it? So.
Well, we can't make any decision on QVH anyway, it's just recommendations anyway, isn't it? So-
Yeah, because you'll be trustees.
Yeah.
Val?
I think normally we would expect to, do any kind of, it would be across the board. So it would be a year end or a financial year end or for some other reason.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that we've been used to doing, just putting it up.
No,
Actually putting it
no.
up.
And it's normally just a percentage,
it's
isn't
fair
it?
if
Just
we
agree on a
do a
percentage.
regular-
Well, we're coming to the end of the financial year, so if we wanted
Yes,
to.
which is
give it a
fine.
test-
I just want to point that out, that it would be
Yeah,
part of a wider, policy.
Ian?
My gut feeling is that we have a very high precept, obviously, with the highest in Northumberland, but therefore to charge people twice for using the facility seems tough, and therefore you think, okay, we've got a high precept, but the benefit is you can then use the estate relatively affordably. That seems a fair thing. We budgeted for this year 26,000 from Fletton House room hire, and we've pulled in 28,000, so we're above budget. So it seems like let's not
Yeah.
strangle the golden goose. I don't know if my metaphor's right, but I'd be tempted just to keep them the same, because it makes us more attractive. Makes more people use us, and that's a good.
Yeah. No, I just think QVH is in a different, slightly different kettle of fish, but I think if we essentially recommend that the working party should consider that, it's not really our decision, is it?
yeah.
Okay. So do we need to approve that?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
I'll propose.
yeah,
Keep
that
it
we
the same.
keep it. I'll second that.
Jamie, yeah.
Yeah, then all in favour? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Can I just raise
Yeah.
two issues? I know they're not on the agenda, but they're under the update thing.
Okay.
There's, just to raise the sign that Sarah Marmol says is
Yeah.
going up, having Arundel Town Council on that road sign. That's.
It's imminent,
It's been
isn't it?
ordered,
Yeah.
because that'll help people know where we are.
Yeah.
The other thing is I saw on the report about stacking chairs.
Mm.
I made inquiries at the school about where they get theirs from, and said, if you're only going to put a large order in, can we maybe tack on the back of that, because then we'll get the benefits of scale. And also, if they're ever getting rid of any through whatever, could we nab some? And the answer is generally positive to both, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Just-
Yeah, because I don't think there's any huge urgency for it, So we've got time to look around and not rush into it, so to make sure they fit.
So I'll keep you informed.
Okay.
The workshop and property storage facilities. So the container's been ordered, and we've spoken to the landlord at the current place, and he's going to give us a few months.
They were busy, the container people were busy, and by the time Nobby had worked out what he wanted to do, when I put the order in, he said it's a 12-week lead time, so that made it awkward. So then Emma and I just had a discussion, and she said, well, look, I'll just have a word with the landlord and just see if he can extend it. If he can't, we'll have to work around it, and he's quite happy to do that. So it's given us a bit of breathing space. I've got the plans through, the actual proper drawings of the containers, how we've asked for them to be designed.
Cool.
So they've gone to Nobby today, and I said to him he needs to come back to me as soon as possible if there's anything he's not happy with. So hopefully by the end of this week, although I know it's a short week, hopefully by Thursday, I'll be emailing back to them and saying that's fine, we're happy with that. So that should be soon.
Yeah, Ian?
Let's raise the thing, it says future ongoing considerations, it mentions the gate configurations, best suit the area and their needs.
Yeah.
This takes officers to order. Am I right thinking full council approved, was it 20,000
Yeah.
to move? And we've
Yeah.
spent that pretty much on the containers.
Yeah.
So presumably the gates would need to come back to us for recommendation and then full council.
Yeah. Which now the meetings are the right way around, that'll work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good. The hub. Discuss problems experienced with hub users, particularly the hub manager, in hosting an event and deciding next steps. So there's quite a detailed report of what happened. And it doesn't sound like it's the first sort of time things have happened in this area. So, yeah, we've got some actions to consider, really.
So number one really, I suppose, isn't an option because it was decided after a lot of toing and froing that the whole point of the hub space was to be a community asset and used by all different groups and everything. So for the sake of one group, not to organise other events just defeats the object of what was intended in the beginning. So moving on from that then, we need to set better usage regulations for people to understand that apart from the area that they're hiring, they're allowed to use those areas, but under certain circumstances it will be limited. And really they should respect that and respect the people that are telling them those things. We've had lots of meetings with the said teacher, and things improve for a little bit, but then it just goes back to, because obviously students leave, new parents arrive. I think there's got to be something fairly substantial in place to say that these things, I mean, we've got a little sign on the notice board outside that said abuse of Town Council staff is not to be, put up with. But I think we need to make that point a little bit more blatantly, really, to stop what's been occurring.
Okay. Max?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I think we should support Moorag as much as we can.
Yeah.
And I think a meeting with the ballet teacher or whoever is whoever is actually responsible for booking the space is probably the way to go forward, just to spell out, what they're actually getting in terms of their booking. Because it seems to me, from reading this report, that their expectations are not in line with what they're paying for. And I think that just needs to be spelled out.
Yeah.
And also to spell out that we're not prepared to accept rude behaviour.
Okay. Ian?
I've written down lease terms, but the ballet doesn't lease that room, do they? Do they?
No, they
Do it on an
just
hourly rate?
yeah, there is a hire agreement that they fill in, but it's not leasing.
So it's ad hoc, in fact.
Yeah.
So it's just for the room they use.
Yeah.
So we just need to be clear on that, yeah.
I mean, even while there's not, other events going on, we've had all sorts of reports, like, another one that came in after I'd done this report was people that are waiting for prescriptions and things from over at the doctor's surgery, quite often used to come in and sit and enjoy a coffee, and some of them, quite often they're elderly people, they said they can't come in because they can't risk tripping over some of the kids, the noise is absolutely awful, and all this sort of thing. So it's all bits and pieces that we sometimes get a glimpse of, but we don't see it regularly, but all these reports are coming together and building a picture of a space that's basically being abused by those people, those specific people. And it's even more so when there's an event on and they're told they can't do what they normally do, and that's when the hostility occurs. Because when there's not an event on, they're obviously getting away with it, and nobody's, apart from Marco gets really annoyed with it, some of the things that they do, and he tries to say, but again, they treat him with utter contempt, because it's like, well, who are you? You're just a cleaner. You don't need to tell me what to do. But they need to know that there's certain things, you know, that aren't acceptable.
Do we need, sorry, I should put my hand up. Do we need to maybe look at the terms and conditions of room hire and booking, and maybe make some issues and clarity within that?
Well, I think they're quite standardised, because they're obviously for people that are just renting it, and Rebecca worked on them a little while ago and improved them considerably.
Right.
I think this one needs a more specific approach just for this particular class. I think the other stuff covers all the other users, but I think we need to have, I think it needs to be more specialised for this one,
But is
a
it
bit more
worth also,
explicit.
is it worth making a specific reference to use of the hub
Yeah,
in that, saying that you can use it, provided
yeah,
A, B, and C? Because then it's categorical, isn't it,
Yeah.
every time it's hired out, whether it's this space or that space or other space.
Mm.
Because certainly when I come in sometimes and there's parents sitting there waiting and they're reading or having a coffee, we wouldn't want to scare them off, and that's a good use of the
yeah,
space.
absolutely, yeah.
And so it's a matter of balancing the good and the bad, isn't it? So giving clear boundaries about what's expected would be really good, particularly if it's part of the agreement that's signed.
And I'm sure it's the same as it is with everything. It's just a few people that spoil it.
Yeah.
Generally, most of them are respectful, and, you know, if Morag says, oh, sorry, you can't sit there, would you mind just going over there because we've got something else on? Most people are just fine about it. It's just a small group of people. But the point is, when the ballet teacher's teaching ballet, she's not managing those people, and really she should have more oversight on what they're doing, and at least make sure if she can't sit and watch what they're doing, make sure they're aware of what they should and shouldn't be doing beforehand.
How is it communicated to the users and their clients, parents or whatever, when other events are being held?
Morag always emails Lisa, the ballet teacher, and asks her to make sure all of the people that will be attending over that time, and she always gives her plenty of notice as well. What Lisa does with that information, we don't get any kind of confirmation.
Because it might be better to get that formalised as well.
Yeah,
So at least we know it's been received and acted upon.
yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Fran, anything to add on that?
No, I think it's sort of historic in a way, in that they haven't had any competition for
No.
those spaces until recently, and therefore they've been used to spreading.
Although they were the same though, Val, when the hub kitchen was open. I remember some of the staff in the hub kitchen coming up really upset by some of the behaviour. So I think they've always felt like they have the right to do what
That's
they
what
want.
I mean, and they're
Yeah.
overstepping the mark
Yeah.
by a long way at the moment.
Mm.
I mean, there have been phases before when we've had to say to them,
Yeah,
don't do this or don't do that, because we've had screens up and all
Yeah,
sorts of things in
absolutely,
the
yeah.
past. So it will go away again once we've managed to get Lisa to, sort it out.
Yeah. So we agreed that bigger steps then to speak to the ballet teacher and get a more detailed formalised agreement with what they can and can't do in terms of the hub, and have that written in their actual, so they've got a specific one to them, really, yeah. So, can I have a proposer and a second of that as well, please? Ian, Val, perfect. Everyone happy?
Yeah.
Do you want one of us around at one of those meetings, or would it be better to hold that until next time?
I'll have a word with Emma and Maura. What I might do as well is I might send out the current hire agreement we've got to you, so you can have a little look and see what you think we should add
Brilliant.
and how you think we should put it. I'll do that, and then we'll, once we've got the basis for that and we've got a fairly good idea of that, then we'll arrange a meeting with Lisa and just say this is what we're doing. I think.
Right, next is the QVH. Discuss increasing costs for hall pilot QVH. So we sort of discussed this a little bit.
Defer those, can't we, because they're obviously.
Right.
Sorry.
That's all right. Discuss the longer term plans of the QVH and the recently formed working party. So I assume that was at the last, I wasn't at the last.
Where was the last meeting?
Full council.
It was the trustees. And we made the point in the meeting that one of the problems with QVH seems to be that a lot of decisions about the maintenance of the building probably fall here.
Yeah.
But then we don't discuss it and it falls into the trustees meeting, which is so short and so inadequate. So, this group put forward various issues, which we said, absolutely, we'll talk to them about, etc. And they're trying to get a meeting together with 2 or 3 representatives of what might be called a culture club, but apparently isn't officially called a culture club. And no one stressed as Boy George came to me. Very upset. And some of us, I think, John, myself, David, I think, volunteered to do that. And I know there's a whole series of emails looking to find a time in the next couple of weeks. Okay. So, some of them are easy wins, some of the people said they'd happily help out doing some of the stuff, so we might get a few working groups doing some stuff easily. Have we got pressure wash?
Probably.
So clean steps was one of the suggestions. So I quite fancy doing that. I like it when there's pressure washing on a warm sunny day.
Okay.
So, it's a matter of things moving forward. And it's really good having the users' insight into things.
Good. All right. Okay, courthouse. Discuss renewal of tenancy for Annex Office 4 with Anglian Cloud Services and decide next steps in light of meeting with the tenant and communication from electrician.
So I sent a document round. I met one of their directors, whatever, Steve, on the 9th of March. I raised the 3 issues that we've talked about: heat generation, electricity consumption, and how well it's been used. It's a room with lots and lots of servers in it. It felt quite warm when I was in there. It's about 25 to 30 degrees on a cool day outside. There's some insulation, there's lots of cooling fans, sorry. There's desk, doesn't look particularly office-like to me, but there is a desk which is used apparently infrequently. And I put down there some issues that we might want to look at as to whether we increase the rent or fit a meter or continue with our decision to move the tenancy on. So hopefully that's useful. I don't know if you have any questions or whatever it happens to be. We've also had a report from the electrician, haven't we, about the need for a cooling system,
Yeah,
which would, as I understand it, include air conditioning units. So again, that would increase the electricity. Given the news we had last week about electrical consumption in the courthouse being very high, that seems an extra concern to me at least.
Matt?
Well, I think when we discussed this a month ago, prior to the visit, I expressed the view that I didn't think that the current use was really what we would expect, and I didn't think it was really in line with what the offices of the courthouse are for, and I'm still very much of that opinion. I'm not even convinced, having seen the report, it's even actually very good as a server room. I know quite a bit about server rooms, and normally you keep them very, very cold.
This was not very, very cold. Yeah. I was told that it doesn't get any hotter in the summer, but it feels that that's not quite the case. There's a window facing, one window or two windows facing sort of east, southeast,
yeah.
which I'd imagine would catch the morning sun on a hot day in July. And I've got to imagine it gets hotter. So on that basis, that's also going to have an impact on other users below and above and around and everything else. It's good, right?
You've got to get heat out of the room, not circulate it within it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there were a couple of window panels had vents fitted, but I mean, as I say, I think it was, I checked my app, it was wintering at the time I wrote this report, was 9 degrees that day. So it wasn't a cold day, but it wasn't a warm day. And it was certainly very warm.
Wait until it's 40 degrees in the summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other point that he made is that there are 3 of them who, they purchased all of these items during COVID and trying to give people extra capacity. He thinks they're now mainly using them for designers and other online users rather than gamers, but who knows. And his view was that there are 3 of them who want to try and sort of get more of a work-life balance and spend more time in Outlook, but I think they all work elsewhere much of the time. So I'm not sure. He also suggested that if the lease ends, then their provision will probably end. But I'm not sure if that outweighs the costs to the council and all the problems, etc.
I'm apologising first because I can't actually hear what you're saying.
I'm
So
sorry.
if I repeat what you said,
No,
I
please.
apologise.
It might be more
But
interesting.
it seems to me that it's not the most appropriate use for this room. And how much were we told when they actually asked to lease the room? Did we know it was going to be a server room, for
No,
instance?
the word server room came from one of the complaints that one of the other tenants
And that's
phoned
when you-
about. That's the first time I heard the
You-
expression server room. I knew they were computer people, I knew they were storage, and when we first saw the stuff, there was stuff in there, but not anywhere near what there is now. And it was then subsequently when we got the complaints from about the noise and the heat from the neighbours that we then started to say, right, okay. They did make lots of effort to sort those problems out, and some of the neighbours said, yeah, it's not too bad now. But Emma and I were there, I'm sure it was the tail end of last summer, and the immediate office to the left of it, they've got their front door wide open, all their windows open, and it was really, really warm. And the neighbour opposite, there's been nobody there because that tenant's not been very well, so he's not been there. And I believe the one downstairs that initially made all of the complaints, he's not always in the office now. So technically, there's not many people there now to complain about it, which is probably why we've not heard too much over the last summer when we had the very hot summer. But it's still.
We don't know that people aren't using the rooms because they don't like what's happening.
Well, exactly, yeah, that could be the case. Although I would think they'd say, I would think they'd report it. I don't think they'd suffer in silence. I think
Yeah.
they're paying rent as well, aren't they? So I would imagine they'd say. But there's apart from office number 2, and I don't think that's used 9 to 5 every day. There's nobody been in office 3 since November because he's been poorly. And then also downstairs, I know it's not his main business. He goes to Cambridge quite a lot, so he's not always in the office. So there's been relatively few people there that would make complaint if there were complaints to be had.
So I'm totally confused now, because when I asked recently about the rooms in the courthouse, I was told by the clerk that they were all in use and.
They're all full and they're being paid for, but what I'm saying is their
Not on the premises.
regularity of using them has changed over the last year or so. So some of them have changed circumstances, and like I said, one of them's been poorly, so he's not been in the office so much. And then the one downstairs, it's not his main business. He has got another job in Cambridge, but they're still paying for their rent and they're still using the offices, but they're not their core hours 9 till 5 all the time. They might be there 3 days a week or 2 days a week or something like that. But the ones that are right near the office, the directly opposite, he's not been there for a while because he's been poorly. He's had serious health issues, so.
So are there others that you think might be being used for storage rather than an active?
No, I think they're all set up as officers, yeah. But I think over the last year, there's been various changes in people's circumstances. So, yeah.
What do we charge per month, sorry?
210, I was
Yeah,
told.
210.
It was 210,
So the annual for
including electricity.
the office we're talking about now is,
Oh,
I think,
okay.
2,100 or something. It is, yeah.
So it's less than 2, it's less than
They're
210.
cheap
It's
to
very
to
cheap,
help
yeah.
new businesses. That's what's worrying me.
And
It sounds like-
210.
Okay, I'm just gonna propose that we end the lease.
Which is what we sort of discussed a couple of months ago, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll second it.
Yeah,
I'm totally with you.
Yeah,
Excellent,
okay.
good.
Can I just raise one other
Yeah.
point, so that might be worth us thinking, I've put on the bottom of that discussion document, whatever it's called, whether it's something we should consider more broadly, because I looked at the lease, I couldn't see specifically that we said we'll pay your electricity, but I also couldn't see that we said we wouldn't pay it. But whether it's worth from now on looking at getting those little meters you can get fitted, they're about £20 a piece. An electrician would charge you £100 to fit it, but at least it would give us an idea of what's being consumed.
I hear, yeah.
Because at the moment, we don't have any idea.
No.
But it just seemed a sensible idea to at least say, here's a fair use, if you go above that, we'll start charging you.
When you went through the list, and I haven't looked at them for a while, but when we changed solicitors, so you know when there was all the talk about the increases, what everybody predicted as being considerable increases in utilities. I know I'm sure with the new leases, I'd said to the solicitor, can we put something in there, a clause that says you're covered for reasonable use.
Yeah.
However, if the prices do go up by a certain amount, we will have to pass some of those costs on to you. Did you see anything in that lease? I don't know whether that might have been one of the older leases.
I
or-
couldn't see anything, but then I'm no expert. There
Yeah, I'll
were
have to check
references that alluded to services,
Yeah,
but it didn't seem to specifically talk about fair use and
okay,
stuff, so
so
I
we
think it
need
was
to
an
make
older
the
one.
lease more specific if they haven't already done so.
And if we do that, then we need to meet up new users, because then at least we'll have an idea.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Okay. Discuss and approve rental tenancy for Courthouse Office 4 and 5 with Howard David Associates.
Yeah, so these are probably our most long-standing tenants, I think. Howard David, I think they're our
Yeah.
longest tenants, aren't they, apart from the museum?
Are they the ones upstairs?
No, they're in the 2 downstairs.
All right.
Yeah, the surveyors that are doing our roof surveys for us and everything. So no problems with them, no issues. So yeah, their lease is up for renewal at the beginning of next month, so are you happy with going ahead with renewing that?
Silly not to, right? Is it offices 4 and 5?
Yeah,
So in rent terms, I couldn't find on the budget a payment for office 4, so they lumped together. as
yeah,
4 and
yeah,
5. Okay, so yeah, that's £5 a year. And they've got a good presence on the street, haven't they? So they've got advertising, as it were, makes it look busy and lived in, and they help us with surveying stuff. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, reasonable. Do we need to have a formal?
yeah, if you would, that'd be
I'm
good.
happy to propose that we renew it.
Yeah, I'll second that. Everyone, yeah. All good. Excellent. Discuss the longer term plans for the courthouse. We have sort of spoken about that a little bit in terms of leases. Anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No,
I was going to raise the issue, according to the budget sheet we've got here, we get in income just under £40,000 a year from tenants in the courthouse. And this year, at the moment, we've spent 104,000 on the courthouse. So it's an expensive place to subsidise
indeed.
at the moment. So I think, well, we need to keep an eye on that with roof repairs and stuff coming up as well. It's not going to get any cheaper.
And more repairs.
So
Yeah.
either we find a way to make it cheaper, or we find a way to either make it earn more money, or we say, here's a facility, let's really use it, make the offices churn them over much more quickly, even more cheaply, whatever it happens to be, but make it more exciting or crowded. I was walking down West Street the other day, and it does feel like the town's moving that way. They're not moving, things are opening up.
That way.
And whether we could make the courthouse a bit of an anchor at that end of West Street. It's got problems with parking and access because of the road, but, you know, if we're going to subsidise it, we can maybe make it a little.
That was one of the things I was going to say earlier, actually, when we changed solicitors and we've got some officers came up for let, we did go back to Berries and ask him to re-quote per square metre what we would charge, and he said the rule of thumb would be 130 per square metre or whatever it is. He said because you've got no parking, that's one of the main reasons that you can't, well, one, the council wanted it to be reasonable rental income, didn't they? But two, he said because you literally have no parking, then it does cut down the price that you can charge.
And that is very specific in the lease that you can't park in the courthouse anyway, so.
No,
Which is why it encourages people locally, most people walking or cycling.
Just one thing that came in after, obviously this was published last week. I'm going to speak to you about Tony Hoyle and meetings about Fetton Field Association, but he also asked about the planters at the courthouse. There's about 7 planters that I think the museum did plant a few years, but they've gone.
They are in the court.
And Tony's asked if we would let Blooming Angel look after them, take over them and start planting them, make them look nice. I did say to him that we discussed the drill hall last month and that we were all quite happy for them to do that. It's not obviously officially a decision on here, but is the feeling that everybody would be happy with Blooming Angel to actually do something with them, because they're just full of weeds and old bulbs at the moment.
They'd stay in the court.
I think so, although funnily enough, got an email from Carol at the museum tonight saying about can we do something with them. That's why I don't think it needs to go on an agenda as such, because it's an extension, I think, from us letting them do it last time, or however many years ago it was. And she said they did think about maybe moving a couple out to the front so that it looks nice from the front, but obviously I will go back to her and say you've got to be careful, you can't necessarily put it on the pavement, but
Very narrow pavement.
it is, yeah, and there's nowhere really, I mean, certainly outside the museum door you can't, because there's just there's no room, but whether in that little archway, they could put them there, kind of thing, set back near the gate, so it's still visible from the road. But, I just said to her that, yeah, I'd already got it on the agenda to talk to you about it tonight.
Okay.
Okay, great, thanks.
Right, car parks. Received update regarding Eco Drain from contractor and decide next steps.
So I met with him, was it last week or was it this week? Last week, and he said, yes, it did look a bit scruffy. I think I probably sent you the information about the patina on the actual metal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
normal, where it's not rusty, what's happening is the
Yeah.
protective coating's wearing away and then it'll all go the same colour, which is fair enough. But I said to him that we weren't happy with the cement round and he actually kicked it and he said, oh, it's all coming away here. So he said, yeah, I absolutely agree. He said we were up against it because it was absolutely throwing it down when they were trying to do it anyway, which I know we shut the car park and it was kind of imperative it was done in the time we'd allocated, but at the end of the day, if you can't do something, you can't do something, you stop it, and you don't just try anyway. So he's going to get somebody out. I don't know whether he's been already because I haven't been down, but he said, yeah, we'll get that sorted out and get that tidied up a little bit. But in terms of the drain, it's doing what it should be doing because we've not had any reports. I tried to get the time to go and knock on that neighbour's door to see, because we have had a few downpours, haven't we? But I'm sure he'd have been in touch with me if he'd got anything to say about it. So it's working as it should be. Yes, it doesn't look particularly pretty, but like as he said as well, because of the levels, they have to slant it down, which only helps the issue with the water going where you need it to go, to be honest. But then where the lip is with the existing drain, they had to fill that up and had to make like a little ramp, because he said if you just left it, it would be a trip hazard. And it's those bits that have all crumbled and come away. So he said they've obviously just not got their mix right or whatever. So he said he'll sort that out. So I just need to check that.
I mean, I took some pictures of it. You can see, you can't knock on there, you can't see. But, you know, there's whole bits of
Big chunks were coming off, yeah.
coming off.
Yeah, I mean, he specifically kicked it with his foot and I was, yeah.
Already. But I think it's also not just that cement bit, but I think it's also I can't really see, but the kind of, it's the way it integrates with the tarmac, because the tarmac, I thought they would have at least tried to tidy up some of that, because it's just a complete mess.
Yeah, well, I said to him, I perhaps assumed too much, but I said to him, I thought you'd tidy that up. But like he did point out, it's a mess anyway, because it's been patched up so many times. So I think, yeah, you're right. Ideally, we would have liked them to come in and redo all that messy bit, but that's not what they quoted for. They quoted for coming in and putting the Eco Drain and making good the bit that they were doing. So.
Well, at least sort out that bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then at some point we possibly, because if you remember as well, well, you probably don't, I don't know whether you were here, that entrance has been patched lots of times by our chaps. I remember John always used to go and buy the tar, and so that has been patched quite a few times. So what we probably have to do is what we did with the entrance of Fletton House, in terms of having to dig the whole thing out and start again and get it all flat and nice, to actually rectify those problems of all those bits there. So.
Yeah. Good.
Public toilets. Nothing major there.
No, I still haven't had any joy with that tile, but I think we've come up with a plan.
What's the plan?
Of
Sounds exciting.
getting a tile that's lower down and more easily accessible.
Yeah.
On the side you can't see, taking that whole tile out, pictures, dimensions, and hopefully a reference number on it somewhere. Then putting that tile lower down, up,
In the right place.
so that then when we do get a replacement, do a temporary fix on there, so that the bit that's visible and difficult to get to is done, and then we can just work at the lower level.
Cool.
Yeah.
Clever. Other properties in open spaces, possible collaboration with Anglian Water to install pathway whilst reinstating part back to pre-high condition. So Emma met with Anglian Water on the 20th, is that right? That says it?
Yeah. And then you've got, if you turn on to the next page of the report, you've got, Emma's, sum up of what he's offered.
They're keen to resurface the whole of the basketball area. I'm looking at the best way to do this. Okay.
So that I'm supposed to be meeting him for a walkthrough. It was booked for this Thursday. I won't be in today to have a walkthrough and have a look and discuss some of these points today. And he sent me a list of things to ask them, but obviously now the meeting's been postponed till the 3rd of April. So once we discuss with them exactly what they're prepared to give and what we're happy with, obviously it'll come back to either this meeting or possibly full council, depending on what decisions have to be made or you know. I don't know whether there are decisions to be made. I think it'll just be him telling us we can do this and us going, well, can we have this as well, please?
They've already
Yeah,
reseeded the area and left the fencing up, which might be the core they talk about there. They've left the fencing around the area where the containers were, and about half the concrete's gone. So hopefully they'll come good with the ones we bought forward. Lisa did mention today she thought they were suggesting that their budget wouldn't allow them to repaint the white lines that we had done last summer. But I presume our lease must say, or our agreement must say, that they return it as is. Yeah. There will be lines painted on it as well, but I suppose we need to be clear about that.
Okay, yeah, good. Site meadow, I think, is the other one there. Gate and posts need replacing as they're now collapsed, which we saw a picture of last time, I think. Discussed inside next text. Not being so many things going to be okay. We'll check it's salvageable. Post definitely needs replacing and then obtaining quotes. So I guess that's that. I have a feeling this is going to be, I might be wrong, but I've got a feeling this is going to be Councillor Clark. Identify some small areas for no mow May for this year and consider more areas for no mow May 2025. Am I correct in my hunch?
Yeah, probably. So this came up last week in full council. We've got our big B buffet signs. I think we've got 10 of them. So we need to find 10 locations we can put them around to put one of them.
Okay.
If we had the path in the road, it would be nice to put wildflowers there, but they just reseeded out the grass, so we can't do that. But we can leave some no-mow areas, I suppose. If I get a chance before I go off next week, I might go and have a quick look around and identify some little areas we could do. And again, if we communicate what we're doing, etc., that would be good and helpful. So I'll try and come up with some suggestions for the next meeting.
Emma and I had a chat about it and we thought this bit out the back here would be a good place. Yeah. We don't think anybody'd moan about it, just there. And then I did say to Emma, maybe not all of it, but the St Peter's churchyard, because there's some bits that are left for the natural habitat anyway. And obviously as long as people can walk through and the pathways are clear, and we've got the signage up saying that's why we're doing it, and obviously the church, I can't see how that would upset anybody in there.
The green room would be quite on that already, don't they?
Do they?
on, yeah, one side, where they've got dead hedge, etc.
I just
Yeah.
wonder whether there was any more that we could do in there, because it's out of the way, it's not, because a lot of the complaints you get is visibility, isn't it, with things, people complain about it with, so, near the cemetery, that was all overgrown for a while, wasn't it, and the biggest complaint we kept getting about that was, and that wasn't done on purpose, that was just because the mowers had missed it or whatever, but was visibility, so we can't do it, so I just thought like somewhere like the Rockingham Hills, the churchyard here, places like that where it's not going to affect anything like that would be best places.
Good idea. I've got a map somewhere with all our land on.
Yeah,
I think-
You've got these ones?
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And then think of some ideas for 2025, because obviously this one's a bit short notice, isn't it? So it's just, I suppose, trying to get a few areas as a token gesture.
The document was quite clear, you don't need to stop mowing, just don't mow in May. So they were suggesting a mowing cycle in March. And then you don't mow in May, so long as you get it down now and let it grow. If we don't have a meeting in April, our next meeting will be the beginning of May. That'd be too late to suggest it. Because by then it will have been May for a few days already.
Well, unless we agree now that we'll agree via email.
So, okay,
The
with everyone?
suggestions come up, and if we're not having a meeting, then we'll agree the areas by email.
Cool.
Yeah.
Happy
We'll
with
see
that.
what people say signing, right?
Okay, cool. NNC's pollinator strategy update.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that and I thought, I don't know if I have got an update. I think that might be the science, I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't heard from anything. I did have an update today that we've asked for some fruit trees for Flatton Field from the NNC orchard thing, which I presume will be next winter. They've got some for Langston Junior, I think out of the primary have tried to get some. We've asked for some for a couple of other sites as well. So that's all part of that.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah.
good. Okay, trees. That's more related to cemetery, so we'll come back to that.
Yeah, there's nothing
momentarily.
other than,
St. Peter's Church, other than I don't think there's anything.
cornerstones have been done now, the new
Yeah.
road, new
Yeah,
street
good
entrance,
street.
which looks nice,
Yeah.
which is good.
That's
Just got to
good.
get the wobbly wooden thing done now.
Cemetery, Elm Cemetery. So, discuss increasing cemetery fees and sign next steps is the item. So it's no increase for at least 4 years, or the
Yeah.
last 4 years.
From what I remember, yeah.
Okay.
Ian, yeah.
Quick question, these rates in here on red, they're the present ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, do we know what other cemeteries have done in the last 2 or 3
I
years?
checked a while ago, I think last time we discussed it, but I haven't checked recently.
What about competitors?
Max?
So compared to others locally, like Woodstock, it's similar.
Is it? Okay, good.
In fact, arguably, it's a little bit more expensive, but not very much.
Mhm.
If you go further afield, so closer to where I grew up, it is as cheap as beans, cheap as chips. In Chelmsford, you would pay 10 times this amount.
Really?
Yes.
So that's not really a chance.
Yeah, don't die in Chelmsford. So
It's a good name for
It's-
like a thriller.
it's,
Don't go in Chelmsford, yeah.
but just looking around, also just looking at places outside Leicester, it's at the cheaper end of the spectrum. The other thing I noticed is that, there, I, 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 there's more variation elsewhere in terms of the age groups. It's interesting that some people give free burial for infant deaths.
Yeah.
And then it tends to be, like 0 to 4, so there's a bit more of a sliding scale, whereas we just have 2 costs, child or adult. Although again, some other people define adults as 18 plus or whatever. So, but the other thing is that other sites seem to, in terms of this purchase of exclusive rights, from what I can gather, virtually everybody else, it's time dated. What you're buying is exclusivity, but only for a limited period.
Well, ours are, but it's 99 years, so.
Well,
quite a
that's
long
a
period
very
of time.
long time compared to the others. The others are normally 50 or 25.
Yeah, I noticed that when I went on, the first course I went on with cemetery management,
Yeah,
that most people in that room said about 50.
Yeah.
Some were 75, and I said, well, ours is 99, and like, yeah, that is quite high.
so
So what do they do? Do they inter on top, or do they?
it basically means that you can reconfigure the graveyard if you wish. Some public graveyards, they will literally just plough over the whole lot and then start again.
Wow. Can be. I mean, I started thinking as well about conversations we've had the last few months about, we know we've got a limited amount of space. We know we've now got a small extension, the space we've cleared. We know that we might get another extension, but we know that that's probably it. So there's a natural endpoint to full body burials in the cemetery, and I suppose we need to bite the bullet, decide when that is. Is price a means to do that, or do we just say leave prices where they are? It's going to run out of space in 5 years' time, and we decide to do it that way. I don't know. I don't get it further.
It strikes me that the prices are at the cheaper end, definitely. I think what we need to do is look a bit more carefully at the costs that we charge against the maintenance of the churchyard. We've got some big costs coming up regarding the wall. I seem to remember that's going to be 32,000.
We approved the full lot on Tuesday.
And then there's quite a lot of expenditure coming up with the extension as such. There'll be some, I just wonder how realistic these prices are. And also particularly given that we're giving 99-year leases, which again is just off the scale a little bit from what I can see.
How would we change that? Do we just say it's now less, or do we need a reason?
Well, I think one would change it, particularly moving into the new area, and say anything that's going in there is, under the new regime. I don't know. At some stage we've got to transition this, but particularly having exclusive rights of burial for 99 years. This is cheap as beans.
Yes. Val?
Yes, I think if we're going to do anything like you've suggested, when we get to the new piece of cemetery would be the time to do it, because a lot of these graves in Arundel are still family graves, whether you like it or not. They're huge families, aren't they? Known families. And I think if it's going to be a really big thing, we should talk about it at the town meeting. I think it's that important.
Yeah.
We've not had any confirmation one way or the other yet about the new bit of land, have we?
No.
No, it'd be nice if we had, because it would be a good way of introducing it to the meeting.
So do we need to sort of, without kicking the can down the road, do we need to defer this and maybe come up with a plan for the next meeting to discuss?
I think what we've got to have is, and I've partly said this before, is a clear plan for the new section of the cemetery. I mean, I would go as far as saying, do we actually have it for cremations only?
Yeah.
The space is limited, you can't carry on having full body burials, you're just going to run out of space, it's as simple as that. Should we be thinking about an area where it's a kind of woodland, which are very fashionable these days, having woodland burials. But as Val rightly says, I think this is partly a community discussion as much as anything else, because it's a community place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So are we saying to stay as is for now, even with our new little extension bit, and then plan for different rules and regulations when we get the new bit?
I haven't quite understood what you mean.
So, are we saying we just continue as we are now until we get the new
Well,
bit?
we've got to discuss it somehow otherwise with the community.
Do we have any sort of timeline on whether we're likely to find out about the new bit?
It's not the least bit urgent.
Is there any idea of scale of when we're likely to run out of room?
We estimated that the bit we've cleared could give us 4 or 5 years.
Without that bit?
We'd be running out pretty soon.
Really?
I wouldn't feel confident in doing a full burial now
Yeah.
Right.
at all, apart from at the back of the chapel where it's the Roman Catholic area, there's plenty of space there.
Just on that basis, if we've said, and I know our records aren't perfect, but if we've said 99 years all the time we've been using that cemetery, does that mean that the burials at the very far end towards Stoke Doyle, which were from the 1880s, 70s, 90s, are they now up? So we could decide if we wanted to change.
Yeah, we could, but again, this was something that we looked into a little while ago, because I think it was Malcolm Glenn that suggested it about reuse of graves. So I got a load of information about it, and you have to try and trace any relatives that are on the headstone. And if there are any living relatives, you have to make contact with them to check that they're okay with it. And then any dig that happens, the way you have to treat the bones, you have to dig down further and make sure they're all placed together, so they have to stay there, and then you can reuse what's on top. So I think at the time everybody just said, well, that's way too much to be able to do, just the looking for the relative and trying to find any living relatives that would give, well, not give permission as such, because if the 99 years has run out, they've no rights over it. But we just decided it was too labour intensive and too difficult to do. And I also found out from the governing body that we go to for help, that it's very rare that the places do it. She said, you might get the odd one in London where they really, really are stuck that have done it, but she said it's not a commonly done thing.
That might be an option that a council in 10 years' time might decide
Might
to
have
go
to
down that
make,
road
yeah,
because there's
yeah.
no other space.
Yeah.
Or they might decide to just stop it.
And I think with the promise of this land, that was the other thing. It was like, well, we won't go down that route at the minute, we'll hold out for this.
Right.
But I mean, I've been here 8 years, and my predecessor said it's been negotiated on the negotiation table for 7 years. So that's 14 years that they've been talking about it. But obviously the planning's gone in for it now, hasn't it? So we're getting a little bit closer to achieving some extra ground.
Do we need, the town meeting's the end of May, we've got one more meeting between now and then, maybe 2. Do we need to come up with a set of ideas?
Well, if we're going to take it to town meeting, then, yeah, I mean,
Just broad,
there has to be some proposal, as such, or a series of options. I think the key thing to ask is, what is the reaction to having any new area as, cremation only? There may be I think we've got to manage the expectation that people can carry on having full body burials, because the reality is they can't.
It could put balanced against the increase in population.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. With the population growing, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And we have to manage that expectation. And in some respects, we talk about having consultation. The danger of consultation is that if we kind of say, oh, well, do you want to carry on having full body burials? They'll say yes. Well, the reality is you can't.
It's not really a choice at some point, is it? You've got to say we can't do it.
Either that or find some more land.
Just more of a hypothetical question. If say you contacted someone's family and said, look, can you, does the family have the option to, if you like, lease another 99 years
On the same spot?
spot?
Don't know.
I mean, we could actually, to further from that, shorten the period once we've
Yeah,
got
well,
the
that's-
land. Yes.
99 is out of kilter anyway.
Yeah.
What I've
Yes.
seen.
It's not just making it more expensive, it's
Yeah.
shortening the lead.
And it strikes me that we should think about shortening the lease with almost immediate effect. Because the longer we have of granting 99-year leases, the more we're just storing up problems for the future. So I think the easy thing we can do is to shorten the term of the lease to begin with.
presumably from,
Well, it'll have to be from January, because this document seems to run from the calendar year, doesn't it? It's stated here January 24 to January 25.
Yeah, but all we've ever done is just change the dates when it was decided we were going to keep the charges the same. So
Oh, I see.
we just amend that to that.
So we can amend it as and when.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
there's no set, yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it's in our interest to shorten the lease, definitely.
Yeah.
Even if we don't put the charges up, we should at least do that.
so I'm just typing, as we're saying. I've written down annual town meeting proposal, and we can think about this next meeting. Point number one, we've got the new area, which gives us maybe 4 or 5 years breathing space, but potentially when that's gone, that's the end of full body burials.
Yeah.
And our proposal might be to shorten the lease to 50 years rather than 99 years. See what people think over the next few months. The second one is there's a new bit coming, but we don't know when. We might suggest it's cremation only, maybe something woodlandy. And again, shorter lease if we do go full body, see what people think. And then say the only other option would be somehow to reuse graves after 99 years, which is complicated. That might be an option. I suppose the fourth option is find a new piece of land.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot will
Yeah.
come out of it, I think.
If you go down to where the museum is, and the old board giving the charges of burial is on the wall there.
Yeah.
What you might notice if you go and read it is that, unlike these charges, the charges differentiate according to how deep you want the grave. And that's specifically because you pay less for a deeper grave, because it means that you're going to have somebody on top of you. The point is there was always an expectation you would not be the only body in that grave.
Yeah, because some of them, when you look on the old cemetery records, certainly up the other side, of the opposite side of the new bit, you've got on the board, because you've got a number, a burial number, and it's just run from number 1 through to 4,000, whatever we're on at the moment. And you'll see in some of the little squares, there'll be like 5 numbers. So that's, and you can look at the records and they might be all different names. Some of them, they're all the same family name, and some of them are 2 Smiths and then 3 Allens kind of thing, that sort of thing. So yeah, over the years, they have been used multiple times. I mean, they could all be, although they've got different names, they could be the same family. But yeah,
But just thinking,
yeah.
I went to a graveyard in a churchyard in Scotland, on the off chance of finding my family antecedents. And what I came across was a magnificent cross, somebody with a bit of brass, but 15 of my ex-husband's antecedents in one grave, yes, in one grave. So, families do go on using them, no doubt.
So if I put those words on a Word document that we can all edit, and then whatever we get to in the next few weeks, we look at again in May, and propose that for things to put on board, even if just to see what people think of, because at least then it's raised and we're starting to talk about it with people.
If only to get people aware that I think it's about managing expectations. So the sooner we get people to realise that things have to change, the better.
So we can tweak the wording, but that at least starts that conversation.
Yes.
So if I let Emma know that you're planning on putting something on the annual town meeting agenda in that regard, and then you'll get that Word document circulated, but keeping the prices as is at the moment until we've.
But sorry, but are we changing the term of the lease?
I've put that on here, so that you put that on the Word document, won't you?
Yes, I've suggested there, sure,
But so we're not doing that until after we've had a discussion, or?
I think that's pretty wise.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, I just want to clarify.
Plus the fact the point on the agenda says increasing cemetery fees, it doesn't stipulate that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, Joan Strong. Brief survey,
Yeah.
yes, going ahead. There's not.
Boundary fence, we took the one out here down, and obviously that was full height. And the panels are all fairly good condition. I think they'd only have to throw a few of them. So their thinking was that we might be able to cut them in half and use some of it and then add to it at Joan Strong Centre, because it seems a bit silly to throw away perfectly good fence panels that just need a bit of TLC and a bit of a paint job. So, so that's what they're intending to do with that. I think Nobby worked out how many metres was there and how many metres it would equate to, because obviously it's going to be a short one at the Joan Strong Centre. So, watch this space, we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
Can I just tell
Yeah,
you?
sorry.
I've got my name now. Come in a minute. From the Scouts,
Yeah,
they love that building. They were telling me the other day that they feel that they've landed and gone to heaven, or not landed, or getting the metaphors mixed. They love it. And could I please pass it back to them?
Yes. It's very well used.
Yes, it is.
Markets. Mora continues to have issues with shop owners and shoppers entering the market area whilst the road is still closed from both the entrance and exit points. She has requested that PC Morgan attends for sport next Thursday. Is there specific incident or?
it's the same offenders, I think, basically, that she's had issues with before. The PC Morgan, he said to her, if you are worried, then I will, as long as.
Town events, approved costs of reindeer hire at the Christmas market.
Favourite.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
So, I mean, she always contacts me quite early because she gets booked up, so.
I'll propose it.
What?
Thank you. Ian.
Does your anti-bunting, pro-reindeer
Bunting and reindeer
stance?
are different things. Reindeer bring happiness, bunting just brings
Misery.
Some
misery.
people,
Bunting is,
What about the cruelty to reindeer, Bobby?
I've seen that they're very happy. They
They
just sit
do,
there
they're
going,
so
"Oh,
chilled,
well."
don't they? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're very relaxed. Look at this one. Wow.
yeah, my son's got one draped over a chair.
I like one. That's a bit too chat.
So Ian's proposed,
Yeah, I'll second it.
Jamie, thank
Can't
you.
you do what they do in the Grinch and just put some antlers on a dog?
Hey,
Maybe that's what they do. Maybe it's very expensive
Yeah.
dogs.
there's plenty of those about, isn't there? Right, good, thank you.
Okay.
Just vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all in favour.
Yes.
We're all
Yeah.
pro-reindeer.
He's not.
Everyone has reindeer.
He's Grinchy dog. Is this your bun?
Here
Is
we
this your
are, we're
bunting?
approving the cost, we haven't even asked what it is.
£1,500.
£1,500, yeah. It's expensive, but
Yeah,
everyone
Brings a lot
loves
of
them.
Christmas.
When you stand there and wait for them to come and you hear the kids and it,
Yeah.
well, not even just the kids, the adults with the excitement and the cameras out and everything, it's lovely. It just,
Is it Prancer or Dancer we're getting, or,
she always tells us when they come who they are or what we're to say they are, because she's been telling the audience what they are. And then we tell Santa that he knows what they are, which ones
Yeah.
they are. It's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Right. Environment and floodwater issues. Discuss new road walkthrough, Canada Water on the 20th of March at 10 and agree on councillors who may be able to attend with.
But that's changed now to the 3rd of April, so.
Okay.
If anybody wants to come, and we saw today that there's
The
nothing,
work's pretty
the
good.
work's good on the road, there's nothing that we saw that was of any concern. So mainly when I do meet up with them, it'll probably just be to chat what's occurring within the wreck.
Okay. Nothing else. So streetlights, nothing. Town CCTV, nothing. Update from Councillor Clark on site next steps, energy and EV charging points.
So this was the people that let us down, their new friends over in Oxfordshire. We just heard back from them this last week, end of last week.
Yeah.
They're looking to see if they can go and do a site survey the week of the 9th of April,
That's right, yeah.
just to see if anything's possible, whatever. I'm not around, you're not around, but Emma's going to see them, let them have a look, and they'll come back with a recommendation that yes, they can do something, and this was what it would be, or no, they can't, in which case we've lost nothing. So I think it's just a matter of sucking it and see what they come up.
Lovely. Okay.
so we're waiting here.
Hopefully, yeah.
So that brings us to any other business report only. We'll start that end. Ian.
I don't think so, no.
Wow. Okay. Max.
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. Val.
I just got that allegedly the Wilmington petrol station will be open next Thursday.
Wow.
I dispute.
They're very exciting.
It will be open. We've had a mailing about it this evening.
Have you read?
It'll be open on the 28th, which is this Thursday, 2 days' time,
Right.
and they've got a 4 great offers for the next 4 weeks.
Is it
Oh, that's
24
what
hour
we got.
breaks?
We got one through the post, and Becca said, do you want this? I
I
don't,
did say,
don't buy it.
Free coffee next week, then
Oh.
something with donuts, and there's a sausage roll.
Is there anything vegan sausage roll related?
I didn't go into any great detail, and there's
There's
longer
bands,
offers as
please,
well.
yeah.
It's open really weird times. 7 in the morning, Greg's is open 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon.
Really?
That's weird.
Yeah, on Sundays, and 6 in the morning till 4, or some weird time in the evening. I don't know.
Builders,
Yeah.
builders and tradespeople, won't it? That's what it'll be. That'll be their core trade, I should imagine.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
I won't be for it.
Truck drivers.
Lisa?
I've just got a couple of other business. I forgot to mention it before. Did we decide who was going to meet with the Fletton Field Association?
Yeah, I didn't know whether I was going to bring that up or not, because I couldn't decide whether it's in this meeting or the full council meeting. Are you talking about from our point of view or their point of view?
So Tony has said it'll be him, Jerry and Clive.
Yeah,
They're fairly flexible. So he said, do you know who the people are? I said, I think in the last meeting I vaguely recall Max, Ian and Jamie expressing an interest, but Val did as well.
it was Jamie and myself that met last time.
Yeah,
I think Ian's name was down to me, but he couldn't make that day.
okay. So what we need is really, to make the balance even, is 3 and 3, isn't it? So if I could have 3 people, and then they've asked you to set some dates and times, because they're quite
Oh, I see.
flexible. So
Yeah,
they said,
whereas we're not, yeah.
so they've said, Tony said the only time he can't really make is a Tuesday and Thursday morning, and Jerry obviously can't make Tuesday evenings, but apart from that, they're fairly flexible. So
I
he said if you could
realistically,
get some
it's
dates.
going to have to be early evening, isn't it, with everybody working?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't work.
I've got a lot more afternoon free time next term, but I'm away 2nd to the 12th of April.
Where are you going?
China, Shanghai and Beijing.
What?
That job, someone's going to do it.
If we say
That's
it's
something.
afternoons then, no,
But
I don't
James,
say.
effectively, you're working effectively 9 to 5, aren't
Right.
So,
What about 5 o'clock? 10 past?
I mean, if it's at the Rice and Crown, 5:10,
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
or a weekend.
Or a weekend, yeah.
They might be reluctant about
They
the
won't
weekend.
come at weekend.
I mean, I'm happy to meet at, 6 o'clock. Obviously not Tuesday.
That's what it says, it's getting dark, isn't it? That's the-
So if I said 6 o'clock any evening,
Not lights, not
apart from
lights.
Friday, you don't want a Friday.
Yeah, don't want Friday,
So no Friday, no Tuesday,
yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 o'clock,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay for that.
preferably in the Rose and Crown. I don't know why you want to meet there, but,
Because it is literally next door to Rome.
oh, I see, okay. So you've not got any special affiliation?
No, no. It's just-
It's the most convenient.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
or a location to be decided?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Could be the Talbot.
yeah, more civilised.
Well, they've got bigger tables in the Talbot, at the back, haven't they?
As in for maps and charts and,
The tables in the Rose and Crown are a bit small for 6 people.
Put two of them together.
So we're going for Max, Val and Jamie, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 6 p.m.
I did remember something. What, the guy that was living on or by the river, is he still there?
In
On the house, but
yeah.
Have we had anything more, Ryan?
It's still ongoing. It's quite a difficult, planning enforcement said it's quite a difficult one, because apparently, technically, if they shut it down, they'd be making him homeless, she said something, so she said it's quite a technical case. So it might be some time before we get a result from it. That was her last update.
Right.
And she didn't go into any great detail, but she just said, just ensured, sort of assured us that they're on it. And I have one other thing as well. I met Joe, the new account manager for Marlowe, who are the company that do our fire alarm, intruder alarm, CCTV and emergency lighting in this building. And if you remember, we had a period of time, well, since I started the job, where I think we had about 2 months where the fire alarm wasn't needing something replacing or wasn't going off or setting properly. It's funny how you don't notice things when they don't go wrong. So I said to her, oh, I've just realised it's been working fine for quite some time.
Don't say that loud.
But it's pretty much, and I said to her, it's pretty much because we virtually felt like we had every detector replaced. And I said, we did talk for quite a few meetings about, was the system fit for purpose? why are we having all these replacements? Because I said to her, we were told that if we were a sawmill, you'd expect to be having these detectors replaced quite regularly just because of the nature of what you're doing, but we're in a clean building. So she said there's all sorts of reasons it could have happened, but she said because they're coming on the 2nd of April to do all their normal routine maintenance and checking, she said she'll get him to do a thorough analysis of all the heads, checking the dates and everything. She did agree with what the one chap said to us, that we were completely overspec'd with what we were sold and had fitted in here completely. It's way too sophisticated, and she said it's like a computer and you've got something that far outweighs what your needs are really.
Right.
So she said, once these start getting to the end of their life and you start having issues again, she said we can talk about getting a lesser system in, something that suits our needs but isn't too expensive for replacements. And because we've gone for the top spec for it, and she said you don't really need it in this building. So yeah, it was quite a fruitful meeting. So I've got a face to a name now. It's the first account manager in the however many years I've been doing it. It's actually made the effort to come and actually speak to us about it. So hopefully, as I say, it's not been playing up at the moment, but hopefully if it does start again, we'll get better advice on how we're moving forward with it. So yeah, that was it, I think.
Cool. Okay, in that case, I'll declare the meeting closed.
Lovely.
Thank you.